India has called for international sanctions against the leader of a Pakistan-based militant group which it says carried out a deadly suicide attack in Kashmir. The Indian government has asked for the leader of Jaish-e-Mohammed group, Masood Azhar, to be designated a terrorist by the UN. The new report says that 5 times more babies die as a result of conflicts around the world compared to the number of soldiers. Save the Children says that in the past 5 years, 500,000 infants have been killed through starvation, disease, and lack of medical care arising from
Holy shit.
And a third man suspected of helping to poison the former Russian spy Sergei Skripal and his daughter in Britain last year has been identified as a senior Russian military intelligence officer.
Oops.
The investigative website Bellingcat named him as Denis Sergeyev.
Damn.
A British teenager who ran away from home to join Islamic State militants in Syria has been told she could face prosecution.
Whoa. I gotta watch out where I, unsupported resolution, what does that mean? I guess we'll find out. I want to make the video smaller. See if I can finish this. Okay, so this crypto, CJ Loves Crypto, whomever she is, said something about internal female, I know you're thinking ejaculation, but no. Internal female, oh no, sorry, something about getting someone off. Sorry, this stream turned into a adult only episode intro. It is Valentine's Day, so that makes it the 15th of February, which also is my parents', I guess I have about 20 minutes left to wish them a happy anniversary, as this is the day they got married. Anyway, this is going to come off sounding as a crude tweet, but I'm basically trying to do what she did for myself. She kind of placed an ad for someone else for their product by using adult language, and, well, you'll see. So my response is, this I agree, and what's interesting is I just posted this profiles operating on Internet of Value thing to some Think 2019 hashtag post, whatever, blockchain ideas tweet someone had. Thought it was interesting, copied the text because I was going to use it in my profile or something, and then I came to this CJ Loves Crypto tweet and thought, well, that's like an ad for myself. Why not? So here it goes. I said, this I agree. Super good podcast on getting your girl off first. So that's the plug her comment. How do I say this? That is the plug in our attention when we gave our interaction with the comment that she'd know she'd get a reaction from. One half being the language, the other half being her profile picture. If I can put it that way. Where was I going with that? No idea. So this I agree in what she says. Great podcast. Yes, I agree. Good ad. I also see personal blockchain media profiles operating on the Internet of Value, building an economy of ideas. is my ad. And yes, it's a mouthful because, yeah, there's a lot of things going on in my head, so what? That's how I think. You're reading how I actually think. Bitcoin may have been the very best idea of this century. Bam. That's my ad. Next paragraph. Here's my Valentine's Day version ad. If all this is perfect, aka if I'm right about all these, then I'm literally perfect. Like that's, as a man, that's how I feel. I want to feel perfect. If that's my strive in life, the fastest I might be able to get there, being that I'm a man and might be able to speak from some experience, as I'm sure you ladies have done yourself, that would mean I require blowjobs every day. And yes, sorry, this is a family-rated intro, but if we're being honest, there's my ad. We don't need you to be right, but you are more than welcome to try. Basically, nobody's perfect, so nobody's perfect, but you're more than willing to try. How do I make that fit? And then that's not even to mention what I actually turned this on to do, which was have a conversation with, drum roll please, I don't know how to do this.
Governments. Their actions speak louder than their words. And this is a typical move they've pulled in the stock market.
Tony Edward himself. And no, I did not invite him to this live stream because he probably doesn't know me. So that's why I forgot to invite him. So he's going to talk, and then I'm going to talk, and then that marks the end of our conversation. Yeah. So if all this is perfect, blowjobs every day. That's like imagine that being a not a Hershey's cup. Imagine that being written on a card. I don't know, one of those little candy heart things. What if that was written on a candy heart with a laser inker? I don't know what it would be. Anyway, you don't need to be right, but you are more than welcome to try. Nobody's perfect. That'll make it shorter. Nobody is perfect. Oh. Alright, we're going to have to do some restructuring because I want to be perfect. And if I get this close, sometimes I try and make it say what I want it to say and be exactly 0 characters left. AKA, for me, perfect. If I've set up this game where if I want to be successful at something, I start thinking up of stories that end in my success in that given topic. So I literally whittle these stories in my head out of the wood, quote, that I see coming in through my eyes. I whittle it together and I create an idea whose story ends with my success. And it seems like for the past, I'm going to say, 8 months to 18 months, that being able to do that with somewhere within that time frame, I've been able to make it work to my benefit into changing the way I think about things. Because if you're focusing on something negative in a given situation, that's what you're going to manifest. But if you focus on something positive in any given situation, more than likely that's the direction your energy is going to move into, that leads your journey, your course of life, however you want to call it. That's the guide. Hold on a second. Okay, sorry about that. Basically, that's your spearhead, or your driving force, or your will to live. Whatever it is you feel, you like. Picture you put your fist out in front of you after you've just watched a Gary V, 7-hour stream when he went to Dubai. Like, imagine yourself after watching that content, as he says. Watch that content and then just be like, damn, I wish I could do that. What's that fist that you put out in front of your face when you think, nah, you can do it? Like, whatever that fist is, put that into your story for your success. Whatever you would need to accomplish within, say, where am I trying to go with this? I don't know. Let me get to what I was trying to do, which is technically maybe making a social media ad for yourself or a story. Put it this way. What if I take this idea that I'm sitting here on a Valentine's Day night on the couch at 11:48 in the morning, happy as fuck. And not because that's what I had done. Like, imagine sending that message to someone. Like, all right, so your ad has a picture of, boy meets girl. They, life's perfect but life's perfect, and it brings you towards the story of them becoming amazing. Sorry, I'll try and wrap it up. I'm trying to use that to describe how amazing this couple's life will be if you take that alongside with, and no, that's not what I just did, but that's what I'm going to live. And by live, I mean take my mission in life, I guess. And, that's the fist I put up and stick out after I watch a 7-hour stream of Gary V's content. That's the fist that juts out in my mind when I think. And as a result of that, I've gone through awkwardly great lengths, even before I knew I could do this, consuming data or consuming information around me, whether it's visual or auditory or a memory I can recall, whatever it is, I use it all to whittle a story. So maybe that's how I bring this back to what I'm trying to do, which is write a bloody ad on social media for myself and my brand, because what I want to be known for is telling the truth, period, or telling the truth about anything and everything possible, or telling the truth, or no, learning things along the journey towards deciding whether you want to tell the truth or not. See, that's where this sentence comes from. I also see personal blockchain media profiles operating on the internet of value, building economy of ideas. Like that sort of... Basically what just went through my head was about 360 million pictures all moving very quickly, telling me the story that is the sentence. Or, put it this way, the story that I saw led me to believe that personal blockchain media profiles operating on the internet of value, building an economy of ideas, is the story that ends best with my ends in my success. Basically, that story that just went through my head, that sentence, the 600 million whatever pictures it was, if I could tell all those stories, or I can tell all those stories and they all end in my success, put it that way. So call it like a tree of ideas where, depending on which branch I go up, I can take that idea or take the story of that idea and run with it, with success being my only goal. So I can focus on it as long as I want and make it, a tall, reeded tree. Or I can focus and go in multiple different directions at once, like one of those coral reef staghorn, staghorn, I think they're called. I don't know. Anyway, back to the ad. So how do I make this one character last? Nobody's perfect, but you are more. Nobody's perfect, but you can always try. Nobody's perfect, but there's always trying. Is that too suggestive with 3? See, when you're trying to communicate the truth, imagine, here's how I try to communicate the truth in the best way possible, given the technology we have today. Think about that. So I'm connecting how the people in the 50s and 60s would talk in a movie. I'm connecting that with the mode or the means of communication that we have available to us today, aka hashtags, Twitters, Insta post videos, and come follow me's on social media. We have that culture. Where was I going with that? See, that idea branch did not quite have my success quite worked out, so got to do another one, which is this bloody ad. So I think I did it. Nobody's perfect, but there's always... Oh, the 50s. Let's see if I remember it quick enough. I might as well go back into it. We're going to be able to... Or the best way to communicate from the future on is to build reputations on these blockchain media profiles as your reputation of you, your digital self, which will, or could be, one of those things. The global ID, I think their Twitter is at my global ID. I'll try and write it down so I can remember to actually go there after I freaking finish this tweet. Hold on a second. Next time you have a great idea, don't write it in a book. because I've noticed that anytime I have ideas that I write down in a book, they die. Put it that way. Not to be morbid, but they die. See, I need to write this down. That's crazy. Let's see if I can remember it. As books. As books are places where ideas go to die. As books are places where ideas go to die, comma, that's funny. The backs of envelopes are where the shit, I gotta remember that. The back of the envelopes are where the brilliant minds of the world hurry communicate. Alright, I think I can end it with that. See, here's my flippin' issue, and this is why it can take me a long time to write a tweet in this format, 1950s tweeting the truth. Basically, that's what I'm trying to accomplish in order to prove that I tell the truth in real life. Like, it makes me feel awkward, and sometimes I have to leave a situation if I know someone's lying. I don't know, it's weird. I have a thing about tuning into it, not with it or against it, or always pro or always con, but it's like I have a understanding with it, I guess you could say. Anyway, so this ad. Now I want to tell you this. When the best ideas come, well, this is, for me in my case, in my brain, this is how things work. The best idea comes when you're sitting there thinking of something totally random, out of the blue, and the first thing you can think to write on is something laying around, which happens to be, most of the time, an envelope or a scrap of paper or whatever it is. I find that when I do that and write my ideas down on them, they are then left scattered around so that I can physically see them again, revisit what I was thinking when I did it, rethink the idea that I wrote down, and then pick up where I left off and proceeded with more. This allows me to think about very many things in great detail over a long period of time. Hence, ideas. Hence why, and this I guess would bring me to my next thing, well, or the end. So building an economy of ideas is, what if one of these ideas is the first idea that someone would need in order to create their next, not ICO, but if you're in the crypto, you know what that would make reference to. What could be, basically, if someone read listened to one of my ideas and wanted to know more about it, aka they wanted me to add value into their thought stream, I guess, if we record our own data, as I am doing now, to in the future prove a truth, everyone will be recording themselves, aka that being everyone is recorded. And we are far more likely to act as they did in the 50s on the big screen. I say that as if I was from there, I'm not. But when I watch those shows, I can't help but think what a perfect way to communicate to someone, or the language they use, and basically, if you want to understand the genuinity, is that even a word? The genuineness and ingenuity. Can I put those two words together? The genuinity of how I'm trying to communicate myself online. If you watch those black and white 50s and 60s movies, literally exactly what I'm saying is exactly what I mean. Like, there was really no sarcasm back then, and if it was immediately identified as, oh, what are you, like, some of a wise guy? So it's like someone would literally put that tweet in there and be like, oh, you're a bit of some of a wise guy. Like, you literally have to be honest with people in how you interact with them because it's polite. So it's like you don't want to show up to a conversation and just like start blabbering on and whatevering. So that's how people are going to develop their profiles for their media platforms, kind of like how Gary Vee has done with his media platform of VaynerMedia. It's basically just the ideas that he likes to promote and be a part of. Here's all the latest information about that. That's their kind of media. They're a media company, let's just put it that way. Whatever it is that they do, I am, as you can tell, not a media company. But I do know a lot about blockchain, and those two are coming together. Gary's done it. I haven't had that conversation with him yet. He is next or down the road, and now this reminds me why I even started doing this. Because I was going to talk to, just draw a blank, Tony Edwards, on Valentine's Day. Is there any... Son of a bee. Is that really the best hashtag to put on this ad rating? I guess we'll find... Oh, I forgot to say it to my parents. Oh, bloody hell. And here's something else you might need to be made aware of. In thinking like they do in the 1950s and 40s, or in thinking in those pictures, it makes my thought process accent in my head mimic the truth of what that would sound like for my circumstance to understand that what I'm saying is correct. By circumstance, I mean like my operating procedure, my brain, the way it understands something to be correct. It goes back into its, file of videos, and it finds Crocodile Dundee saying something, and for whatever reason that my mind remembered those pictures as telling the truth in that scene. And it was a scene of honesty, as we can say he certainly was known for his honesty. So it's kind of like that's where I get my... Something that's why when I'll say something, when I'll say something in an accent, or like yesterday I thought of something, and this is where I had one of those like, am I a racist moment? And then I had to like slowly think through it, and I was like, wait, no, I just believe that when I've seen this certain thing happen, it reminds me of something that is the truth. So then I associate the two. But then I was like, wait, but is that association because of their skin color? I don't know, I hope not. So what happened was, somewhere I was in the train doing something, and oh crap. Alright, so maybe... Shit. tangents, and then they show up. Crap, I thought I was done with this. This I agree. I kind of wanted to do Valentine's Day. No one do it. No one's perfect. But there's always trying. Basically, no one can give a perfect blowjob, but there's always trying. Hashtag Valentine's Day. That's why I need to get rid of... Yes! See, these are the funny things you learn when you try and do these things. If you hunt your tweet and you find a space, like at the end of a paragraph that you're trying to separate, so you need the separation, but you don't need the space at the end of the period, sometimes that'll make it perfect. And for me, this is to me how I've established being perfect. So it's not that, and I think it's probably because a lot of the way I think is robotically, if that's the best way to put it. Like I think in terms of if this then that kind of way. So I don't know, if I get really focused on something, I can work through it step by step, asking individual questions that I need input on that I find is the truth. And I figure that out by asking all of these little tiny questions that then build into okay, well, if this, then that. I think is my operating system might be the word to use. I don't know. Anyway, that's how I think. So now that I have the envelope with as books, because I thought this was very interesting for me to say, because this is how I think, or this is how I've figured out how I work, is reading ideas off of the back of envelopes, which I wrote down so that I can then think about this later. As books are places where ideas go to die, the back of envelopes are where the brilliant minds of the world are going to communicate. So imagine like taking a picture of that. That's a brilliant idea, Brady. Take a picture of that and post it on Instagram. Brady, you are the mother-ing genius of the mother-ing night. See, this is what's ironic for me. Well, I'll go off on another tangent and never talk to... This I agree. Avi, hey, what's up? Oh, this guy actually does. Here. Most women are numb on the walls of their vagina today. This is due to trauma, past pain, and lack of feeling in their sexual organ. A clitoral O, and I'm assuming he means orgasm, I think. See, these are the truth things that I try and determine when reading a good tweet, communicating with words that dictate the truth, or communicating with words that enable you to dictate your truth is very important, and that's why I think I'm a wordly wise Wonka finder, whatever. Not sure what that was. Past pain feeling in their sexual organ. Clitoral O is small, comprehended to orgasm she can have with her cervix/uterus. Resensitizing this part of the body can lead to being orgasmic 24/7. So do you know Avi? I don't really know this guy, but I feel like I could have this conversation if he walked into the room, and this is partially why I wanted to do this tonight about what's his face, Tony, because so hopefully this will hurry up my tangent of telling Avi how I feel about his comment, which was impressive. I need to finish these trains of thoughts, and my current one I forgot, so I'll go back to what I was doing. Sorry. Avi, my man. Oh, I had the same... I saw Tony last night, and for whatever reason told the story in my head that didn't end in my success. So I now made it awkward when today I sent him a DM that was like, hey, sorry I didn't say hi to you. But I couldn't exactly tell him, oh yeah, the conversation that went in my head didn't end so well, and unfortunately that's what I was doing. So it's just funny that's why I'm trying to do this freaking live stream and talk to him, because that's what I want kind of these live streams to be. I literally thought of it here, sitting here, and props to Gary V, because this is probably something he'd say. If, for the simple fact that he can be sitting by his phone, think of something, reach for his phone, tweet an idea, and have hundreds of thousands of people look at it, 10,000 of them interact with it, but 15 people only interact through a written comment, and only one of them actually adopts the idea and puts it into his story of how he ends with his success. What if that's what I'm trying to do? Basically, he is giving me ideas. I now think of them in blockchain terms and think, oh, that would be great to build my Bitcoin blockchain confidence rating. Whatever it is that's going to make my token and the value valuable as Gary's would have been if he had done this 10 years ago with Bitcoin as an idea. I hope that all makes sense, because that's kind of the reason why I think I'm doing this, or at least that's the story I've been telling myself so far. So now I kind of have to bring it into fruition, which means telling the truth. And with that, I'm going to do my best. And I don't remember what I was going to say to him, and it was, well, I guess that means, and this is what's great about Twitter, is that you can, see, I'll just like him. Yeah, I put in noted. My guy. One with the easiest manual possible. Treat her like a... And I'm not being sarcastic. I'm saying it sarcastically, but I'm actually being honest, and that's where... So one of my things... Like, I think that... I don't know how to figure out... Here's another problem I'm trying to solve with my success, yet again. How do I record information, like tweets and videos and audio and whatnot, in such a manner that I could process them through an AI to tell me what patterns it sees, to tell me anything that it can tell that it was designed to tell. And then I want to figure out, how can I search all that data for keywords or key phrases or anything, any memory that I'll have of it. If I can give this AI, like think of it as Google search for your own historical past that has been recorded via your anything you want. Whatever kind of media profile you want to have online, whether it's just tweeting or just videoing or just podcast, whatever that is, that's how you build your brand's genuinity. I think I'm using that word twice tonight. Basically, how do you record honesty online? Or is that the question that I've been trying to answer, having come up with that question myself? How do you build your reputation online as quickly as possible to convey that you tell the truth as much as possible? Sometimes telling lies are the right thing to do if it ends in your success. That might be some controversial thought that someone could have, but if lying to someone means that you genuinely feel the outcome involves your success, like I did this the other day. I lied to a friend of mine, and then I told him later, I was like, oh shit, sorry, I forgot to tell you, but I lied to you like a week ago. And at this moment, at this time, I lied to you about this. I was like, sorry. And he was like, wait, what? And he was like, you just told... It was weird because I was trying to learn something. I couldn't remember what it was. But I was trying to learn something about him, as a person. I was trying to understand him better. And so I threw in a test. And I was like, all right, I'm going to lie about this. And the next time he confronts me about it, and I'm like, dude, bro, you're wrong. And and he goes off on his tangent. I'm just going to be like, hey, right here. See, here I lied to you because I thought that if I didn't give you, sorry, I have to be quiet. It's past midnight. If I didn't give you this piece of, if I changed one of my outputs from a 0 to a 1, I wanted to see what would happen. I wanted to determine something new about you that I didn't know before. And I want to see if I can confirm that with the truth. I will know it's the truth before you will. But if I remember, which hopefully I do, I will be able to go back and record my thoughts of saying that as, say, a journal. And I could record, what I was tweeting at the time, or I could record that it was an idea that happened in a live stream that I posted 6 months ago. Wherever that truth resides. This is why I'm trying to introduce AI into this problem. I'm trying to figure out how do I, having used the word today, succulents, for this wall planters I'm working on, having used that word now maybe 15 times in the past in the past 2 days, about 15 times. If all of that information was recorded, whether I was typing it, whether I was saying it, whether it was on a video, whether it was on whatever form, and I say video and podcast because it's basically to say whatever form you are recording yourself and your thought stream, your honest opinion, what goes through your mind when you're writing a tweet actually versus what's the message you send. Whatever that honest run of thought is will be what you use to build your online. Anyway, that's a whole other tangent. My guy, so I'm actually being honest with this smiley face is what I'm thinking I could tell, and I don't know. Artificial intelligence blows my mind, so I have to figure out how do I categorize something in such a way that enables data processing and filing of certain things that I can confirm later and say, oh yes, this is what I was being honest about. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but just ask questions. So, my guy, you got one with the easiest manual possible. Basically, you got one of the females that What's-His-Face is not referring to when he says, or basically, I'm referring to a female that he got that she was mentioning, or that her initial statement was directed towards a person that this guy was making reference to in his gif of who I am trying to point to in this and say, treat her like a goddess, because it's basically, she might be 1 in a million or whatever. If that's her and that works, treat her like a goddess. That's why this could be taken, because it's in jest and it's sexual innuendo, whatever, blah, 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 that it's okay to joke in here. And I agree, it is. Just know that, well, how do you know when someone isn't joking and they're actually saying the truth? So it's like when you're in the 1950s and 60s and you had the birds and the bees conversation, they did it honestly, not, jokingly. Sometimes people that had more of a joking lesson tend to joke about it more, maybe, and could be less responsible. Who knows? I'm making it up. The story, that is. I don't want to find out if the end of that story has my success in mind or not, so I'm not going to go there. Where I would like to go is how to convey the truth on here and later prove it. I don't know how I would do this one, but whatever. Treat her like a goddess. My gosh, this is getting ridiculous. Now, this is, how far in are we? Oh, a 47-minute and 35-second intro to what I actually came on here to do. And I don't have my bloody speaker. Hold on a second. See, here's an example. When I say bloody, when I think it in my head, I think of British people swearing and being like, oh, crap. Or sometimes they'll say crap. But bloody that went through my head, I just heard in an English accent. Well, that was a waste. Now I should be able to that just reminded me of Woody Woodpecker. Interesting. See, now what if I could go back? Now this is where my idea of let me turn this on. Or hold on, let me find out if there's any way I can. No. Or hold on. Alright. I think... I can do this now.
Saying one thing in the
Yes.
set a narrative in the news, but doing the opposite.
Not that I want to waste any more of your time, because it's already been a freaking hour, sorry. Yeah, never mind. I hope you can hear this.
Many of us who are in this crypto market have been in it for a while. We understand that now. We see the game
This
that's
is
being
great.
played with big money and media to try to set certain narratives. And guess what? This was also confirmed by Mike Dudas of the Block, stating that...
And this was interesting, because here's where I had one of my holy shit epic thoughts. What if, in order for the blockchain economy and the Bitcoin blockchain space et al., the whole shit shebang shaboodle, what if the only way for that to succeed starts with the information that individuals such as Mike, and I've been at odds with him interestingly in some weird shape, form, or fashion in the past. He is obviously not aware of this because he does not know who I am. That I don't have a problem with. I still think about his conversations and the things that he says. Like, I've already started the conversation. The reason why I also am doing this is so that he, if he so chose to, would be able to find this conversation where I started having it if he wanted to join. If, say, a year from now he tunes into a live stream and he hears his name, I'm going to need to produce the video that I feel covers his, basically introduces him in the way that I think best suits him. I need to be able to find that information. That's where my AI thought stream is going, that I somehow need to figure out how to look through all the video footage. Imagine how many live streams you would have if you did, say, 5 a week for a year. I'm horrible with numbers, so I'm not even going to pretend like I can do that math in my head. Modern investor, he's a little better at that, so I'll let him do that, and I'll do the thinking. Anyway, back to Tony.
Just a month ago, JP Morgan blockchain execs denied this was in the works. So they have been smoke and mirrors the whole way, guys. And but the great thing about this shows you the potential of this market and how disruptive this technology is. That JP Morgan is so scared of it, they are launching their own so they don't miss the boat. And keep in mind what the CEO has been making a point to, shit on crypto as much as possible.
I agree.
In the headlines and in wherever he's at, and he's taking time to speak about it. It's all because that was part of his plan. And we see that the rest of Wall Street as well, your Fidelities, your TD Ameritrades, your Bank of Americas, all these folks are setting up cryptocurrency and custody services. So this is the birth of a new asset class. It's going to take off and grow, and JP Morgan is trying to be a part of that now. So, of course, a bank releasing their own coin, all of a sudden the conversation went to, oh my God, what's going to happen with XRP? People were getting scared.
See, what I find interesting, and maybe this is how I try and seek the truth in the content I consume. When I notice people getting into story mode, I'll call it, and I might have to explain that at a later date, because if I go into that tangent, then I won't get to actually do what I'm trying to do here. Story mode. When I see someone get into story mode, they kind of trip my belief meter on, like in a taxi cab. You're on the clock, and it starts thinking, and it starts hearing it, and you can't. That's an expensive ride to take in my mind. Yes, because You're in my mind now. So that's an expensive ride to take. So in order to have enough value to be able to take that ride as long as it can, to me, if someone is saying they've gone story mode on it, that tricks my value and plugs in and says, hey, this might be valuable when I see story mode go on. He did story mode on the story behind how he was talking about basically the information that was acquired from JP Morgan Chase. In my mind, and this is where the input is, he is just stating a simple fact, he being Tony, he is just stating a simple fact of this information was acquired from JP Morgan, and in this tweet it is being presented by Mike. That's the statement he's giving. For me, that input, because I have a odd relationship with Mike so far in my head, very bizarre, but hopefully I'll get to that. Because I'm having an at odds relationship with Mike, but he is bringing me information that I like, to me, the story that had a ending in my success was, if the only way our Bitcoin blockchain blah 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 space is going to work is if we have news in it. But since the first 10 years of this experiment called Bitcoin, the financial services and industries have been posturing on one side, and the Bitcoin and everyone else in the payment industries that function of that thought are posturing on the other side. That's like a left and a right in and of itself. So imagine trying to come up with a great idea and do lots of great things literally amidst, a food fight. Like how do you do that? You do it like this. Think of a story that ends in your success. What was it? So Mike is basically the Wall Street journalist, because that, in my mind, is how he works. That's the story I'm telling myself. I've had an issue, or I've been at odds with things he said in the past, or the way the message that I received from what he said, because again, this is Twitter, this is typing, unless I could hear what he was thinking as he was doing it, I don't know. But the message that I get from the things he sends out to Twitterverse, Twitterland, the message I receive is what I'm basing my truth off of. So it's very limited, but that's the only thing I have, so it's the only thing I have to go on. Success, Brady, get to it. I think I may have just thought of myself as a journalist on the blockchain side, pointing and looking at a journalist on the other side, hoping he comprehends my want and desire to acquire the ability to believe and disbelieve him to be able to communicate that to him being Mike Dudas, I don't know, conveying to him and anyone he knows my honest truth of how I apply blockchain to his industry. And then he gives me his honest truth as to how blockchain applies to his industry. And in my mind, his industry is JP Morgan, the that side. Whether that's true or not remains to be determined, but that's what I'm operating on, so that's how I'm acting. Or that's how I'm thinking, I guess. Oh, and what was the other one?
So have the fudsters. The fudsters were like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah, so when he's talking about XRP, and XRP has been getting a lot of plug-in listen because a lot of what they're saying is very valuable for my future story to have success. So they garner my attention, I think is the word. They acquire my attention. And this is another thing I'm trying to figure out with Gary V, or in relation to Gary V, which maybe we can go visit him, consume some of that. The point I'm trying to make with him is, imagine if he could trade his attention, Gary V's attention. Imagine if that was tradable on a market with Elon Musk's attention and everyone's attention in the world that you find interesting and follow to the point where you are interested to see what they posted or see whatever's going on in their life right now on Instagram or Twitter, wherever you go and see them. The person that you have an interest in, imagine if you could buy and sell their attention. Imagine that. That's like, to me, that's space travel. So Elon Musk can go figure that out. I want to figure out how to build an economy where we are able to exchange digital value with one another globally. To me, that's the moon. They can go to the moon. If I can accomplish that in my lifetime, I will feel proud knowing I didn't think our exploration of this planet was done until we functioned on it in such a manner that made my story the ending. Put it that way. So here we go back again.
XRP dead. XRP going to zero. This is going to kill XRP. Those people are grossly misinformed, and they've only they
Such
haven't
a
done
shame.
research. They don't understand the problem, that the real world problem that XRP
Alright,
is solving. That
so
we're using XRP to solve, and they
I
don't
think so. I have no idea how I'm going to do this format. Now that I think about it, I actually was recording this episode as a talk to, and I was trying to think of how to introduce him in my mind. The way I know him as is, hey, or Tony here, and then he says his thing. So that's why when I wrote in the thing it said Tony here. And I feel like I introduce him as that because that's how I know him, because I know him through his YouTube videos. I know his name is Tony, but the picture in my mind matched with the auditory truth. Those two things, when they match, to me, that's how I identify him as a digital person, is when he says Tony here. So that's where that came from. Now I'm wondering, I can't do Gary V because I didn't say Gary V was in the video. Whatever. Rename it, redo something, whatever. So, sorry, I'll stop interrupting.
Now, of course, here on JP Morgan's website, you can go read up on, what they're saying here about their coin. It's a 1-to-1 redeemable in fiat currency held by JP Morgan. So it's a stable coin backed by the US dollar. Now, what's the problem with that? Why doesn't that affect XRP? Because XRP is not a stable coin. XRP is not within any respective bank's ecosystem. It is across the board. It's global. It's worldwide. This doesn't. JPM coin maybe solves JP Morgan's internal movement of money, but it's not going to solve the global movement of money, cross-border, which is what XRP does as a bridge asset, as a settlement currency. So Brad Garlinghouse addressed this head on today. He tweeted about it, and he said, as predicted, banks are changing their tune on crypto, but this JPM project misses the point. Introducing a closed network today is like launching AOL after Netscape's IPO. 2 years later, the bank coins still aren't the answer. Now, what does he mean by 2 years later? He addressed this in 2016. This is where the fraudsters don't get it. This company, you think they didn't take into account that banks are going to try to create their own coin? Of course, that's logical, right? But the fraudsters, once again, these people are just running around trying to pull down XRP, but they can't deal with the facts. And Brad Garlinghouse wrote a post here on LinkedIn saying this. He said, UBS, Deutsche Bank, Santander, and BNY Mellon announced their utility settlement coin, a new digital asset they hope will become the industry standard for blockchain settlements. They expect banks will initially use the coin for post-trade settlement and clearing by early 2018, after they secure blessing from regulators and central banks. While this development signals significant market traction for an institutional use of digital asset, I have to say it's deeply misguided. A bank-issued digital asset can only really efficiently settle between the banks who issued it. Then two scenarios can play out. Scenario one: all banks around the world put aside competitive and geopolitical differences. That ain't happening. Adopt the same digital asset, agree on its rules, and harmoniously govern its usage. Fat chance. Why the hell would a bank in Australia or Europe trust JP Morgan's coin, right? If it
This
was
is
used in that way.
funny, I'm right.
Why would the
It actually might be the
Saudi
truth.
Arabia
This might
banks
be
or
the
whatever
truth because I
trust
might be too
JP?
lazy, so I
Why
might
would
just
the
leave it
Bank
like
of
this.
America or Citibank
But
trust JP? They are competitors. They are looking.
this might work because the only reason, well, or, so I could say at an hour, like whatever time I actually do talk about Gary, I could, when this video is done and I go to look at his content, I see what the timestamp is, mention that in this tweet and say, hey, at this, hour 6 minute is when I go talk about Gary V. That actually might be a better edit than, or could I tell a machine to edit my video for me? Fuck. Dude, these questions are, sorry, I dropped my speaker before. These questions are driving me insane. I really just want to be able to talk to someone and literally be able to know who to tweet and ask, hey, can an automated machine edit my video if I told it when to listen to what I wanted? Like, could it edit it live, I guess is my question. Like in me saying I want to add the title of this is also a Gary V content consumption video, could my real-time AI video editor do that right now? Like if I can talk to Alexa, that's what we need to be looking towards for voice activation and serving a purpose that will have a market in the future economy. Could I, in real time, tell people where certain parts of a video are where I think they might be interested in it? So everyone who sees this tweet and says, oh, he talks about him at a minute 06, my AI will have already recorded and said when I'm done talking about him, and not by it being the beginning of the next person that I say, oh, no, now I'm talking about this person. It would be, the AI would know I'd be done and give the people of this tweet the knowledge that, oh, he only talks about them for a minute. Let me go watch that. Because I think in the world of paying attention, to know how much, if what I was going to say about him was an hour, 15 minutes or 1 minute or 30 seconds, that little blip, that little clip of audio or clip of video is an ad to show to someone who also likes Gary V, an ad to show them, hey, this is where my values and my ideas are adding to his. And to me, he tells the truth. Like he has to, because he records it. And then he's kind of forced to live it, because if he thinks of an idea and then people on his Instagram blow him up that day and dude, yeah, that's a cool idea. And then he does a video about it and he's like, hey, I got to do this. He just literally manifests his own destiny by gathering the most incredibly driven, passionate, focused people in the world around him to help with his idea. So it's like this amazing, basically what I think all of the future media companies, aka personal brands, aka here's who I am online and here's how I can prove it. That's kind of the synopsis. I think that's the right word. But that's kind of the idea for me behind blockchain media profiles. And having a way to identify yourself. And I think this might be, and here's another thing, could my AI put or find the hour marker in here when I mention Google, when I mention my global ID, so that if I wanted to search this conversation later, it knows where I was talking about my global ID, the project that Greg Kidd is working on. You know, is this like a driver's license is in person? If you had a global ID on the internet, are all the attestations, these videos that we've recorded of ourselves interacting with other people doing this? I don't know. It's a long story, so sorry for the run-on. I think Gary V might be in this one too, but I might be too lazy. Oh gosh, I might be too lazy to rename lazy to add him in. So basically, I'm kind of making my case as I'm recording this. If there was an app that could do that for me, is that even possible? With artificial intelligence and machine learning and all the other things we can do, land rockets vertically after they've spun around in fucking outer space to come back to ground so they can be like, dude, that shit blows my mind. If we can do that, I might in my lifetime have had an idea that could have directed Elon Musk into another trajectory had he had heard that idea before or after he thought of SpaceX. I don't know. Like, because I can't answer that question with a story that I could believe in and back up with my integrity and honesty, I can't tell that story. I don't know if it exists. Well, I know it exists because I know it's possible, but what would come of it, no one would know. So all I can do is be who I am at the time I have and do with it what I want. That's all I can do. Whatever it is that I figure out is valuable for me, I'll do. That's it.
Make more profit than the other. So it goes back to the core issue of why XRP is a neutral bridge asset. It can be used by multiple banks because it's not controlled by one bank entity, which at the end of the day, that bank entity, its job is to create what? Revenue and profit for its stockholders.
Yeah.
So
I think a lot of crypto people forget that businesses can't just sit and wait for a bull market. They have to actually make money and pay for things and cash flow and this, that, and the other. I'm no business person, but I think that's kind of how you stay in business. So like all the projects, all the coins that didn't have a use case died in the winter. There's no better way to say it other than died in the winter. The bear market winter. The ones that are still around are obviously with us because they survived the hibernation, and here they are. Sorry for that. Here we go.
This is why also you have to think about the business aspect of this. And Brad calls it out here. Scenario 2, and the more likely scenario,
Hold on a
banks
second.
not issuing to issue their own digital assets from their own assets, own sets of rules and governance. We're kind of seeing this lately as FT points out from Citicoin and Goldman Sachs SETL coin. The result would be an even more fragmented currency landscape than what we have today. I'm going to put a link to this post from Brad in the description. You guys can go ahead and read it in full, because I don't want to read everything word for word, but he said, we strongly believe banks need an independent digital asset to enable truly efficient settlement. We believe XRP is the best position for this role. So this has been addressed by Ripple since 2016. This is not something new or something that's not on their radar, guys.
He did tweet about this. So it's cool.
That these banks would try.
What's weird is that the pictures in my head, how I think, communicate to me that I've known him ever since I started watching him, and I think that might have been, I don't know how long ago, but I'll try and find out if I can. But that amount of time I've been listening to him, the way I think can figure out if I believe what he's saying based off of just watching him live his life doing this. The ways in which I have felt he was conveying his honest truth is, like I said, all that information that when someone can plug into the value stream or the idea that comes to mind, get on that bus, go for a ride, it requires a toll. You got to have a good idea in order to get into my head. He has good ideas, so he's in my head. Anyway, maybe I'll just shut up and let him do it.
Of the problem that exists of communication and interbank settlements and cross-border payments and all that, right? You still have different currencies around the globe. Banks are not going to trust certain governments. They're not going to trust certain banks. Not everybody likes Jamie Dimon. Not everybody likes JP Morgan Chase. If I'm Bank of America or Citi, I want to destroy JP Morgan so I can have the market share. That's competitive. That's capitalism. That's competitiveness between companies, right? Logic would tell you this. So the haters and the futzers, and I even saw an article on Forbes, is saying this could threaten Ripple. Oh my gosh. And it's like, really? Do some research and you will know it does not. This is actually great for XRP. Let me explain. What Ripple's trying to do in working with banks and solve a problem, if you have one of the banks themselves looking to build something that helps them out internally, that only proves the need for Ripple's technology. It gives validity to it. So even with the lawmakers and the regulators, if they say, hey, JP Morgan's doing this, Ripple's trying to bridge the gap between banks, it puts them in the same conversation. So I hope you guys understand that. This is good from that perspective. But this is not a threat to XRP. And that's why I'm saying, go read Brad Garlinghouse's article. Don't move by your emotions here. Read the facts. So I know a lot of people were getting like, oh my gosh, I'm scared. This is going to...
Sorry, I'm going to... If I spoke out loud what I'm doing, so that... Basically, if I were to do this, if I were to stop that and explain to you what I'm writing, it would take an hour, because I would go off on tangents. In hearing him talk in the background, and in thinking slow enough to have to write this coherently, the amount of pictures and thoughts and ideas coming to mind as to what the next word will be, it goes from like 35 to 350, but I have to focus on what I'm doing because I'm trying to spell the word out to write it. So I literally force my brain to think more slowly so I can follow one train of thought at a time. So that's why I want to be able to do it this way, because then someone that's listening to it can not have to, take out their phone screen and watch this. But as is like with any good conversation, if you're not there, you have to rewatch the whole thing in its entirety, because maybe something that I made reference to something that I make reference to in the future is something that is in, say, like a tweet like this that I didn't describe verbally, but that you have to watch to read my train of thought literally unfold onto the screen as I'm thinking it, I might edit the whole thing and delete it and not send it. Who knows? But basically it forces me to think slowly so that I can think. Basically, this is how I figured out how I can think. I need to be stimulating my brain thinking, and I need to have input, aka his voice, his information, his data going into my brain as I'm thinking about this. So, sorry. I'll let him proceed.
And this is also, guys, in a very limited test at the moment. So this is not some like global rollout or anything. So I'm sure they're going to see if it works or not. Now, David Schwartz, Ripple CTO, also had responded on Twitter about a question like this, and he said if banks respond by building walled gardens, we'll position XRP to bridge across those walled gardens. If they want one big walled garden to take over, they'll have to be as open as we are. So the banks are not going to do that. Once again, given that their capitalism, competitiveness, they're not trying to position themselves where, oh yeah, I'm going to play nice with these guys when they're trying to make more revenue and trying to get more customers on the other end, right? This is simple business logic here. But if they use a platform, a solution that is not owned by a specific bank, that is on the open market, like XRP, different story. So just want to make sure you guys know about that. Daily Hodl did a great job about addressing this. So Ripple CEO Brad Garling now says XRP will be
I hate spelling the word guarantee because I don't know how to spell it, and I always suck at it every single time. So it's like I guess. Some of these words I guess at. So, because it literally, like in trying to spell it, I lose mental. I basically get distracted, and I physically can't think of how to spell it. It's very weird. Can it be? And I always think of rules or stories or things in my head that help me remind myself how to spell it, but the rules are always like loose and not well made, so I always forget how to spell it. It's very bizarre. G-E... That's not the button I hit. So that looks better. See? It's very weird. It sucks because, well, interesting topic if I remember to cover it later. It's about spelling and writing things in Twitter online, and is spelling really as important as we make it out to be if you can be auto-corrected? You know, could we spend a month less on teaching kids how to spell because they can be suggested subtly as to which is the correct spelling, so then maybe they know how to spell better from that? I don't know. But that's the story I have been going with, and that's as far as I've gotten there. Can it be cheap to guarantee a conversation that might happen? So I find this incredibly interesting when I'm watching these videos, to find these ads of people that are like, hey, doing Dropbox shipping is great. You can work on Amazon as a seller and buy an Alibaba and sell shit online, and that's your business. Sell shit to people. But then I'm like, wait a minute. But then who's working to pay? Like, where's the money coming from to go to work, to earn money, to buy shit? Because I don't think you're buying, millions of dollars of shit in a decade, or whatever the metric is that they use to say it's a lot. No, I made $36,000 this month. Okay, well, that's great. But anyway, I don't know where I was going with this other than, let me refresh my memory.
And be financially free. My name is Kevin Dave.
So basically, I see these ads as people trying to give value, aka you pay them. It's a very weird way to give value to someone, is convince them to pay you for something. But he's trying to basically sell his product. What I like about Gary Vee is that he doesn't sell his product. He tells you the truth, and then when he has a product to sell, you want to buy it. Period. So that's why he always says, he's not going to beat you over the head with whatever. And like right now, AI editor. If I said the tweet I just did about Gary Vee, put in it 1 hour, 26 seconds, and that should be about the start of where I started. Now, it could go and find where I started talking about Gary in this ad or whatever. But if the AI could in real time digest the words that I've spoken a few seconds ago and literally edit a video and or post a tweet, or edit a tweet or edit a post about something to update the information as it's happening, that's what I'm trying to figure out. So, good luck, Brady. Can it be cheap to guarantee a conversation that might happen? Can it be... It's an interesting thought. Can it be cheap? And I think it might be from that rocket thing that I was watching. The Nature? Or no, Nova. Chase to the Rockets, Race Rockets, Rocket Racers, something. I don't know. Can it be cheap to guarantee a conversation that might happen? Can it be cheap to guarantee a conversation that might not happen? So that's kind of my point here, is, say if I said something tonight that guarantees to my parents that I thought of their anniversary on Valentine's Day, but was unable to inform them happy anniversary on Valentine's Day because of something that was happening, if I could prove that to them and say, blah, 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 XYZ, and here's how I prove it. Because, I was uncomfortable doing something in front of someone that meant I have to, ignore you for 20 seconds because I felt that was the only way to get out of the conversation. Whatever it is, that's what I would say, and then I'd play the video and I'd say, see, I said it, I just didn't type it. And basically when she takes those two pieces of information, she puts them together and comes up with, you are telling the truth. Basically that's what I'm trying to see. Can an AI take two data points, retrieve them so that I can present them to someone for them to digest? I guess is my question. Yeah. So, back to the internet.
Insanely profitable online businesses.
See, insanely profitable online businesses is an idea that everyone in the world, well, no, sadly enough, a lot of people in the world have thought of ideas to do that and are trying to sell those ideas. So guess how many ideas are out there? A lot. Gary's idea is don't say you're going to do it. Do it. That's the value you provide. So if someone wants to pay you attention, they first have to give you some attention. They have to get in your mind. They have to get on that thought train. They have to be able to pay the fare to get in there so that, so that someone can have the attention paid. If Gary started with his attention tokens 10 years ago when Bitcoin came out as an idea. If instead it was Bitcoin, and instead Gary's like, oh, I'm going to try this weird mining thing where all my, followers basically build a Bitcoin ecosystem, a Bitcoin network, and those Gary tokens are exchanged among each other and anyone else interested, exchange that value for Gary V's attention. Can you imagine what the cost of one of those things might be? Here's where I don't think he's thought through his blockchain interpretation. Whether he's spoken to a person or people that have thought about the amazing potentials that we have available to us through the internet with instant value settlements in his position of knowing about communication online with media companies. The fact that he doesn't know what I'm thinking makes me wonder, when I'm watching a TV show about the Columbia shuttle breaking apart upon re-entry of this basically watching people burn to death. I think that was in 2003. I didn't remember that happening in 2003. I was too busy collecting data on who knows what. So it's like, if that can happen in my real life, how could I prove that? That I actually didn't know that? Honestly, I don't know. Yeah, so Gary didn't have that. Well, whatever. Gary...
That I hated with a fiery, burning passion. I wanted to figure
Fiery, burning passion. Sorry, bad tangent.
I should have put this news with the Ripple news, but
oh,
anyway,
or maybe should I go to
what's
what's his face?
Speed up payments. So we're seeing more and more banks and these financial institutions signing up with Ripple just for cross-border payments.
All right, Tony, we're going to come back to that 1250. And I'm going to see what I can find that came out today from Gary. So I did see that one. Oh. I like sometimes when he talks and he grabs like his forearm, but not like creepily. He'll like use it as a tool to communicate what he's saying that's coming out of his brain. It's like a weird, not a mechanized or a robotic thing, but just like I noticed gestures that he uses frequently, and that's one of the gestures, and I'm curious what goes through his mind when he, like what image goes through his mind when he holds his elbow pit and like palms the air in front of his, not in front of his face, but like in front of his body, like whatever. I don't know. It reminded me because this picture he has here with his hand in his palm, I don't think I've ever seen him do that before. Let's see what he's on.
49, I've helped a lot of people do a lot of things for free.
Yes.
For years.
Yes.
I've helped build businesses. I've helped
Brandon
websites like Brandon and our travel club and everything. And my wife, because she didn't know who you were.
Yep.
And she goes, so what are you going to ask him? I said, I don't know. And she's like, why don't you ask him how long do you have to do it for free? Sorry.
Listen.
What a motherfucking great idea. Because I was just thinking about this today. I was contemplating contacting my creative business mentor. I think she is. I could call her that. Anne Ray. Shout out to her. She knows what she's doing out in Napa Valley. I think she's in out in California. So Google her if you want to find out what she's doing, because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her. So let's just put that story that way. But I was thinking of having a conversation with her that said, she would always say, don't give away your art for free. And I kind of started on this journey as a sculptor. And let me show you what that means. So this is my other page, which is still me, but I started it in 2015 when I was taking her course, I think is when. So that's what this is. So it's like, I don't know how to interact with these. Like, I'm trying to figure out how can I use these two Twitter accounts to acquire more information or to send out as many messages as possible that I can maybe then rely on acquiring later in life, is basically all I want to do. The rest of it is what I'm trying to describe, so I'll just leave it there. So now I'll go back. So I kind of treat this as like the Audit Me Please. I treat it as a like a, what am I trying to say? A thought account. Like, these are my streams of thought, whereas I want to treat the other one as this is what my physical body is thinking about, or this is what I did today physically. So I'm trying to, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm trying to do something. So, when will it be free? So Anne would always say it's never for free, but then I had a story that fed into, like, if I said to her, yeah, but what about this? My suggestion is the one that ends in my success, which is the story I'm trying to tell presently today, which has yet to come to fruition. So it's almost like I want to ask her, I want to lead her down my path of value transfer over the internet and see if her point of view of giving away, quote, free stuff, and I'm going to see if she thinks I mean, your attention online by commenting to someone. You're giving away your attention. You're exchanging value, but I'm seeing it as you're giving it to someone, so you're giving it away. It may not be returned to you. They may not respond with something that's insightful that makes you, whatever. It may not be returned to you, so you're giving it away. If I asked her, hey, do you think that's art? And she said yes, I don't know, I just think we could have an interesting conversation. So I was thinking about this. Very interesting. Sorry, Gary. Proceed.
Because it is 100% my biggest vulnerability too. It might be at different scales. People may look at like all this, but I've left so much on the table. Like, I own nothing of Wine Library. AJ owned 50% of this when I had all the leverage. Like I much, and my great is resent.
And that's what I keep telling you. At some point down the road, success.
100%.
Right? It's one of those things where I've planned, even for like this moment, I've shot hundreds of vlogs, hundreds of times, built all these things, and it's like, you don't know.
I feel like I could be this guy.
Because I don't think it's one time, to be frank.
Right.
My intuition is...
No, I wouldn't ask the question, but I'd ask him something else. Yo, Gary, I would ask you, where are you getting your information on the blockchain ecosystem? I'm curious. That's the question I would ask. Actually, I think I did this before. Here, let me do it now, again.
Not getting it. And when you give, giving means you have no expectation.
I'm probably going to ask him every single time I do this, just because it makes sense, because I'm trying to start a conversation with him. So.
And what people that love, people that give, don't understand, is it's our natural DNA. The end. As a wife, she's going, I just want to see you win. But winning comes in a lot of shapes and forms. I'll be very frank with you. If I do not buy the New York Jets, I would have won, because winning for me is the chase of the New York Jets.
So it's kind of freaky, but the way I think coincides perfectly with the way he thinks, in that what he's told himself, the stories he has been telling himself, I want to buy the New York Jets, and he basically whittles that story from all the things that he sees. He builds it into hopefully ending with his success being purchasing the jets. He's just saying he likes the journey, and that's why I do this. So I just find it very interesting that they are closely related. Hey Gravy, how do you consume content about the blockchain exoskeleton? This is a legitimate question. Like, how... He obviously can't look at all the digital content ever in the world, everywhere. But he has a lot of people that look at things and tell him, kind of like a president or an advisor. So I'm curious. Oops, dropped it again. I'm curious how he consumes the content. I don't want to say that it's a person that's misleading him, but I'm curious how he consumes the content, because he either isn't consuming the same content I am, or he's consuming the wrong content, or someone's giving him the wrong content, or someone's giving him the wrong impression of the correct content, aka lying to him. I want to figure out how is he thinks a lot about the things in the future and how it will affect him today. Because the only thing you can try and do is make yourself as impervious to that as possible. And you hopefully just build yourself stronger and stronger and stronger, knowing what could come to you down the line, what's coming to you down the line. That's how you build a brand. And to me, that's how you build in my case, blockchain media profile, by recording everything as he has done. And hopefully in this day and age, we can get artificial intelligent video editors to edit our videos in real time as we stream them and post things online as like flag points or message ways, or whatever, the dropping a pin in a live stream, a pin in a timeline on Twitter that corresponds to a live stream that happened in real time, that was then later reviewed as proof. I don't know. This is blowing my mind. So that's why I'm curious if he's thought about this, because if I'm right, which I think I am, the implications that has for the future of our digital economy, of paying attention to things, which is what he's all about. That's why I'm wondering if he's thinking along these lines or not. I'm very interested in getting a meeting with him to say, hey, you came up here because you want to ask a question. What's your question? It literally is, and I probably should keep it consistent and literally ask him this when I think about it, I guess, and when I'm talking about it, like right now, just fucking ask him. How do you consume content about the blockchain ecosystem? And just to see if I can get it a little more feet, because I actually did speak to someone at Team Gary V's direct message service, whoever does that. I spoke to them, so promising. We'll see. And hopefully, actually let me cut this whole thing, because I may have to put this in the comment section of the live stream. I don't know if I did that to begin with, but in case I didn't, I now have it. Kaboom. Oh, no, see, I didn't. So I'm going to go to here, go to profile, So that was just tweet out to nowhere. If I put it in here, now it's kind of like I'm tagging this thought process, aka this question, with proof that it actually happened during this live stream. But I'm not sure if when I end this, that link will expire, or will it then turn into the post, or turn into the page rather, on my YouTube profile where it has this video posted there. These are the questions I come across, and I'm not quite sure if I have the answers, so I do my best to find them. So now those are out there twice, but flagging, I guess I can call it. I'm flagging something.
What do you want? 100%. Like, people don't want to hear it. I'll get booed.
I want to be right.
When I'm 90 for not doing it.
I want to live out these stories in my head that I've been hearing, because I want to be seeing all these pictures that go through my head. I want their endings to be in my success. So, and I want to be right, so I want my success to keep happening over and over again. To me, that's the journey. That's why I want to do this too.
And winning, spouses especially, is a real tricky one. It's, of all the ones, it's the trickiest one, because they love you the most and they're most tied into you.
Value.
So I have a lot of empathy for the men and women who have a spouse who's on the give train. You have to define winning. If you've been giving this whole time with the hope that some shoe drops, I have a ton of empathy for that, but you have to frame that in your head.
I think I give because I want to help people. I'm a lot like
Well, then you've won.
Yeah, there you go.
But you have to ask yourself, and it's okay if you've been hoping that it leads. That's so unbelievably okay. Just as okay as somebody who always takes. Everything's okay. You first have to ask yourself, which one is it? For me, I will never let anybody have leverage on me. That is my happiness.
Ooh, I could see that as why I always want to tell the truth. Like, I don't want to give any negative thought or any resentment towards something that I might say to someone, for fear that I would fixate on it later, paying it a lot of attention, then it turning into a story that does not end in my success because I didn't tell the truth and I'm dwelling on it. I don't know, but that hit the spot. That was interesting.
Content to help and give, and don't make content to cave to what others' expectations are.
I get it.
Oh, there he is.
I get it. I think deciding what winning is the most important. If your hope is that all this giving leads to business opportunities, that's great. I wrote a book called Jab to Jab Right Hook. I believe that that's how it does work.
I think Anne Ray.
In the macro, to her with the expectation that she asks for something a tenth of it, and like
in his thought process, because if he doesn't dwell on something that isn't going to end in his success, he's not going to think about it. Therefore, he keeps it moving. Therefore, no hard feelings. I just didn't get an ROI, so he keeps it moving. But it's interesting he says it that way.
For me, no question, I'm about statues and how many people show up to my funeral. It's very clear to me.
I'll be there.
And so to me, that matters. Like, I want
That's
to
fucking building a legend.
of how many people decide to show up. Like, the greatest day of my life will be the first day I don't see it.
That's fucking awesome.
I know that. And so as you can imagine, just giving is that leverage. But if you're looking for some short-term financial reward, that's super acceptable. What you need to make the change of then is being clear about that. Because the cliche thing I see in other givers is they love the altruism that they give, but they have a burning resentment and anger or fear inside that they're not getting.
It's not that. It's not feel guilty to ask for the monetary value. Does this make sense? It's like,
Of course. I'll tell you why. Because you.
Interesting. The monetary value I want now that I know isn't monetary. It's another kind of value. It's a value. Basically, if me 1 second of his attention, to me, is that worth more than $100? Or is that worth more than $600? Because when you put this nominal amount to something, you think, all right, 100 hours, I'm just going to make it up, is a day's work. 600, that's almost a week. That's a week's work of 1 second of one person's time. Like, then you start thinking, how much do I actually want to pay this guy attention? So if 1 second of his attention cost me $100, I would be in a different position to want to purchase it if it cost $600. See what I'm saying? So to be able to put a nominal amount on exchanging someone's digital attention will be fucking phenomenal in the future of blockchain and economies, Internet of Value, blockchain, what is it called? Media profiles. Basically all of the shit I'm trying to create and think about simultaneously is why I think Gary needs to call me, seriously. I'll end it on that note.
Set the framework for the potential of it up front, which makes sense, right? You see where I'm going? That makes sense, because if you didn't do it, now you know you're sandbagging the person. That makes you feel bad, as it should. But then I want you to wait.
This is a good place where I could point Anne Ray to say, it's not giving it away for free. It's a contract that you engage in, and hello, smart contracts on the internet. Like, if I give you 1 second of this, will you give me 10 seconds of that? And the 10 seconds for the one person is, saying your name, whatever it is that's in the smart contract, that 1 second has a contract to it, and you can sign it. Like, that's where this blockchain shit is going to blow everyone's mind. Literally. Like, we thought the internet was cool, and we thought blockchain and the first application of money was cool. How about blockchain as an economic framework application? I don't know if that's even... I don't know. Very curious. Video output low. So maybe this is 2 hours. Maybe I need to wrap it up, as they say.
Yep. And by the way, you've gotten, without even knowing, for that giving in many different ways. The question becomes...
All right, I gotta stop this because I don't know if the thing is going to go crazy on me. But until next time, see ya. Stop.